What's up guys, Dakota here, welcome back to the Driven Mad channel. So today's video is going to be all about Wrangler 392 versus Bronco Raptor. Get ready, probably going to break some hearts here. As some of you guys will know, I own a Wrangler 392, I also own a two-door Bronco, and I was given a Bronco Raptor for a few days and spent a lot of time in it. I had it for about 4 days, and I spent 18 hours on the highway in it, and I spent about 6 hours off-road in it, and then probably about, I don't know, 6 hours kind of around town with it. So decent amount of time. You know, I actually use the thing off-road, so I feel like I have a pretty good sense for it. So what I thought we'd do is we're gonna do kind of like an on-road comparison and kind of some generalities and things like that about each vehicle, and off-road wise we'll compare them. And I'm going to be honest with you guys and tell you where I think each one is better or has an edge over the other one. And you know, at the end we'll talk about, you know, maybe which one should you buy, because both of these vehicles are extremely expensive. They've gone up insane amounts of money. If we exclude the dealer markups and blah blah blah, that's a whole nother thing. But if you just go by MSRP, my 392 when I bought it at the time was like $77,000. And again, when I bought it there was no Extreme Recon package, so I had like a fully loaded 392. That same thing now is quite a bit more expensive. Same thing with the Bronco Raptor. It's gone up MSRP wise like $10,000 since they announced that thing. So both very expensive. They're not cheap. So, you know, I'm not going to throw in price to these because that's a really stupid comparison in my opinion, just because again, there's so many different factors that play into that. What options you get, what dealer you go to, blah, blah, blah. They're both expensive. They're not cheap. So if you're concerned about which one's the more budget friendly one, neither one of them. Let's go ahead and get started. So on road, some of the stuff that we're going to talk about on road is going to be things like fuel economy, ride quality, quietness, comfort level. So obviously, as you guys know, I have my 392. I've had it now for almost 2 years. I've put about 23,000 miles on it. And as you guys saw in the intro, I have actually used it. So let's start off with comfort as far as ride quality, which is going to be broken down into ride quality and then overall interior comfort as well. So let's start with Bronco Raptor. Comfort. Ride quality wise, fantastic. It rides a lot more similarly to a F-150 Raptor than it does a Bronco. The Bronco is a little bit, for lack of a better word, harsher. It hits a bit more firmly on each bump, if that makes sense. You know, you kind of, instead of, if you're riding around, you hit a big dip at 80 miles an hour, it kind of does like that. Whereas in the Raptor, it kind of does like this, and it's got a little bit of like an after effect, which personally I really like, and it means that on the highway it's super comfortable. You know, cruising at 70, 75 miles an hour, it's very comfortable. It takes bumps, as you would expect, very well. Ride quality is super good. It's softer in its normal suspension setting, because you remember the Raptor has adjustable suspension. So in its normal setting, it's softer, it's more forgiving, and it's really comfortable compared to a regular Bronco. Then if you're talking about just interior comfort as well, the seats, the Raptor, the Bronco Raptor, I'm gonna call it the Braptor. The Braptor gets Recaro seats. Those are so comfortable. They give you a lot of support, but they're just nice. They have a lot of different adjustability. You can adjust the, you know, lumbar, forward, back, all that stuff. And in the one that I had, it was power seats, so you know, just adds an extra little bit of layer to comfort. Although Ford, like, throw some cooled seats in that thing. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't get it. Cars that are designed to be out in the desert, out in like Baja, throw me some cooled seats. Both ride quality and seat comfort are an improvement over the standard Bronco, which already rides pretty well. Compared to the 392, ride comfort wise, obviously the 392 rides better. I've mentioned this plenty of times, than any Wrangler I've ever driven. The ride quality is very good. Most people, when they get into my 392, are surprised at how well it rides, because they think of Jeep, they think harsh riding, rattling everywhere. That's just what they think of, because the Jeep that they think of is from, you know, 2000, not a brand new, you know, modern Jeep. But with that being said, even though it is the best driving Wrangler, the most comfortable Wrangler that they've made that I've driven, the Bronco Raptor is more comfortable in terms of seats and in terms of just suspension. And it's also on 2-inch larger tires compared to, again, mine has 35s. It came standard with 33s. And the seats in the Wrangler 32 are better than a standard one. They have a little bit more bolstering, but they're just not as comfortable as Bronco Raptor seats. The other thing that kind of goes into comfort would be like interior space, you know, and so which is like front passenger wise. When you're the driver, we'll get into like other passengers later on. But as the driver, the Bronco has more knee room, has more kind of shoulder room, and so you feel a bit more open in the Bronco compared to the Jeep. So next thing that we should talk about is fuel economy, which is a really interesting one because that was one thing that I was really curious to see. Obviously, 392 has a 6.4 liter V8, and it's a Jeep, so it's not the most aerodynamic, and it's a 6.4 liter V8. So obviously not going to be sipping gas, it's going to be chugging it. Compare that to the Bronco Raptor, which has a smaller engine, much smaller, right? 3 liter V6, so 2 less cylinders, much smaller displacement, but it's much heavier, hundreds of pounds heavier, and it also is rolling on 37s. So yes, mine is on 35s, but these are on even bigger tires and heavier wheels. These are the beadlock capable wheels, so it does add a little bit more weight than non-beadlock wheels. They also have a very similar size gas tank. The Bronco Raptor claims it's 20.8 gallons, whereas the 392 says it's 21 gallons. So very similar size tanks. And the Bronco Raptor got considerably better gas mileage. The Wrangler 392, if you just happen to get the right conditions, the right wind, going downhill, it'll get about 320 miles to the tank in the right conditions, keep in mind. Realistically, you're going to be talking about 280 to 300 in that range. The Bronco Raptor got considerably better gas mileage, and I was easily, every tank was well into the 300s, you know, 320, 330, 340 on a tank. And at one point, I was cruising in the Bronco Raptor, and I think it was about 70 miles an hour, and for 2 hours of my drive, I was getting 20 miles to the gallon. Not like my instant MPG, like the average was 20 when I was just cruising at 70, which is considerably better than the 392. Again, some of you might be like, well, that makes sense. But to me, I was surprised because, again, it's heavier, it sits up higher, it's much wider, it's not like it's any more aerodynamic, it's on heavier tires. So, like, again, I expected it to be fairly similar, not be that much better. It surprised me because bigger, heavier, whatever. And we're talking about on-road stuff is going to be like passing power. So the Bronco Raptor has a good amount of power, 418 horsepower, 440 pound-feet of torque. It's about 100 more horsepower than my two-door Bronco, and it's quick. Now, it doesn't have a whole lot of like low-end torque. Like if you get on it in first gear, foot to the floor at like 2,500 RPM, it goes and goes and goes, and then at about 3,500 to 4,000 RPM, then you start to feel that kind of turbo push, and then it goes. Whereas the 392, you put your foot down first gear at 2,000 RPM, you're going. It moves. I don't need to show you guys clips. There's plenty of videos online. The Wrangler 392 is so much faster than the Bronco Raptor. So if speed is what you care about, Wrangler 392 takes that all day. Again, Bronco has good power. You can easily pass people on the highway and get well into the 90 mile an hour range, no problem. But if outright street speed is what you're looking for, the 392 is much faster. Also, another thing we should point out when we're talking about on-road driving is maneuverability. So the Wrangler, being narrower and not as tall and whatnot, is easier to move and park in and around town. Not that the Bronco Raptor is hard, but the Wrangler is easier. Now, the next thing when we're talking about kind of on-road comfort and things like that would be wind noise. As you guys know, my two-door Bronco is one of the loudest vehicles I've ever owned. It's a hardtop, but it is so obnoxiously loud. Every Jeep that I've owned, this one and my two-door, and even my parents' JK, is much quieter than the Bronco. Good news is the Bronco Raptor seemed to have fixed that problem because it's just as quiet as the Wrangler 392. It's not any quieter, I'd say, at highway speeds, but that's fine. I mean, again, you can remove the doors, take the top off. That's cool. I'm glad that it finally got to that level. When it comes to wind noise and road noise, They're about the same. I'm gonna give that one a tie. Now, let's talk about, before we get into the off-road stuff, I wanna talk to you guys about some of the little things. Some of the stuff that isn't necessarily has to do with on-road ride and handling and all that stuff, which would be rear seat space. The Wrangler 392 has more of it. And not only does it have, it has a little bit more leg room. So the Wrangler 392 has a bit more space, and it gets rear AC vents, which the Bronco doesn't have. If you're gonna put people in the back a lot more often, they're gonna be a bit more comfortable in the 392. Rear seat wise, Wrangler 392 takes that one. Cargo area wise, this one's a little interesting. The Wrangler's is wider, longer, and the biggest thing is there's no hump. When you fold the seats on the Bronco Raptor, you get about a 3-4 inch hump. So you don't have a flat load floor. So like if you're wanting to lay down back there, you're gonna have to kind of make it level because you're gonna be uneven. Whereas in the Wrangler, you fold it down and there's just a slight incline, but there's no actual hump to get over. If you wanna have the most space, the most cargo space, the one that's gonna be the easiest to sleep in the back of, the Wrangler 392, again, gonna be the way to go. Okay, now for the fun stuff, the stuff that ties into what the intro is all about, off-roading. So again, I'm gonna piss some people off here, but it is what it is, whatever. So when you're talking about rock crawling, when you compare the Wrangler 392, or really any Wrangler, to a equivalent Bronco, the Wrangler typically does have more suspension flex, does articulate better, and is a bit better suited to rock crawling. Again, not that the Bronco's bad, but it's just the Wrangler usually kind of will edge it out in stuff like articulation and whatnot. It doesn't three-wheel as often. However, compared to the Bronco Raptor, you get a lot more suspension flex in the Bronco Raptor than a regular Bronco. It kind of solves that because, again, you're getting a lot more suspension travel, more flex, larger tires, more ground clearance. So you're getting, you're getting a solid rock crawler out of the gate. I didn't get a chance to push it too hard in the rocks and up some really steep and challenging obstacles, but when it comes to rock crawling and just the amount of flex, I'm gonna say that they're about on par. They're about even. Again, didn't get a chance to push it, but it was noticeable that it was more articulation than the standard Bronco. So, and again, rock crawling on 37s from the factory, without having to do anything, it's pretty awesome. So you're getting lots of ground clearance, lots of articulation, and big tires. Now, the one downside of the Bronco is on those really tight and technical trails, it's big, it's wide, it's a big vehicle. So maneuvering wise, it might become a handful in certain trails, certain aspects, whereas a 392 being a little bit narrower, feel a bit more nimble in some of those tighter trails. One other thing that I should point out is road presence. So we talked about on-road and whatnot. Road presence, unfortunately, and as you guys know, I love my Wrangler 392, but to a lot of people, it's just a regular Jeep. If you park a regular Rubicon right next to it, most people aren't gonna notice a difference. Whereas if you take a four-door Bronco and park a Bronco Raptor next to it, the Bronco Raptor has much more substantial presence. Now, whether you think it looks good or not doesn't really matter. It looks considerably different, has more road presence to it, and it just looks awesome. It definitely stands out. Now, with the off-road stuff, again, high-speed stuff, you guys know where this is going. That's literally what the Bronco Raptor is designed for. There's no comparison. It blows the 392 out of the water. Suspension travel, because that's not what the 392 is for. Speed-wise, it has the power. It's the suspension that really lets the 392 down. Again, if you guys watch, I'll leave a link up here for the video where we did do some kind of dune stuff with the 392 in my two-door Bronco, and we bottomed it out quite a bit. It's just so soft that it blows through that suspension travel. It's really not meant for high-speed off-roading. Whereas the Bronco Raptor, that's where it's at home. It doesn't mind. You can just go all out, do 70 miles an hour, hit stuff at 50 miles an hour, jump it, it's fine. The extra chassis rigidity they added with the braces in the rear and then in the middle, the thing feels solid. The suspension is fantastic. it handles that no problem. So if you're wanting to do wide open stuff out in the desert, blast around, jump it, pretend it's a side-by-side, the Bronco Raptor is hands down better than the 392 at that stuff. Again, rock crawling seems pretty even, and if you're out in stuff like, let's say Moab, where it's not incredibly tight trails on a lot of stuff, the Bronco Raptor, I mean, you'll be fine. You won't have to do anything to. You're gonna have 37-inch tires. You're gonna be able to do almost every major trail out there. You know, like Hell's Revenge is gonna be no problem. Top of the world. If I had taken the Bronco Raptor to top of the world, it would have been fine. And honestly, probably would have done better than it would have definitely done better than my two-door Bronco, and it probably would have done better or the same as my 392. So overall, which one should you buy? Now, obviously, if you just hate one or the other, then like that doesn't matter. But if you're truly trying to decide, should I buy that? The biggest upside of the Jeep is the engine, because off-road wise, like, yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's really on-road, it is fun. Now, the transmission is not as playful as the Broncos. The Bronco Raptor's transmission, when you put it in manual mode, is a lot more happy to change gears when you click the paddle than the 392. The 392 doesn't really like it. But again, on road, that's where the 392 is a lot of fun, because you just have stupid power in a Jeep. Then on road, the Bronco Raptor is more comfortable, gets better gas mileage, has more comfortable seats. You know, so it's really going to kind of come down to how do you want to use it. If you want something that stands out when you park it, and you want something that doesn't get awful gas mileage, and you want something that can do some Baja stuff, then you know which way to go. The Bronco Raptor is the way to go. Now, which one would I choose if I was buying them again? If I was buying, like, if I didn't have a 392, but I just got to experience it, what would I go and buy? I'd probably go Bronco Raptor, which I know is going to surprise some of you, because as you guys know, if you watch my channel, I love my 392. But the Bronco Raptor, the only thing that I'm missing from that when I drive it is the V8 sound. Other than that, and the good news is, obviously, build quality, they improved massively. As some of you guys know, my build quality on my Bronco, not very good. And the materials used, not very good. But luckily, the Bronco Raptor seemed to improve a lot of that. Some of the materials were upgraded. It felt a lot more solid as a vehicle. So anyways, guys, there you go. So if you wanted to know what I thought about the Bronco Raptor and if I would buy one over my 392, I think I would. And I think a few of the people that I gave rides to, I think like Austin, for example, my cousin Austin, he's leaning towards Bronco Raptor. It's a truly awesome vehicle, and if you're gonna buy a Bronco, and if you can stomach the extra money, that's the one to get. Forget the 4-door, forget the 2-door, buy the Bronco Raptor. I know it's a huge swing, but if you can do it, it will be worth it, trust me. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope I didn't piss you off too much. And if I didn't piss you off too much, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.